Hello, this is Professor Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at the Fashion Institute of Technology. This tutorial is for drafting. We're going to be JD 139 drafting a eternity band. The eternity band will be 2 millimeters thick. It will have 3 millimeter stones going all the way around. Okay, and 1 millimeter rims on either side of the channel set stones. I've already begun by creating our main construction lines. I'll do that again. You may as well see me do it. So, center line vertically, straight line tool asks for the center. I'm going to put in 0 enter so it goes to the center of the drawing or the construction plane. I want it to go both directions, so I'll click on that or type B for both sides. I want it to go 50 millimeters in each direction, so I'll constrain the distance 50 millimeters, and I will hold Shift key to constrain the direction vertically at 90 degrees ortho. Repeat the command, enter, 0 enter, both sides option, 50 millimeters, canceled out. Start a line 0, both sides option. I did that with the keyboard. Constrain length 50 millimeters. Hold down Shift key and click. Yeah. Start drawing my ring. I'm going to draw a ring bore of 17 millimeters. Circle center radius. Center of circle 0. Diameter. We don't want radius. We want diameter. 17 millimeters. We know we want this shank to be 2 millimeters thick, so offset curve. We want the distance to be 2, so we type in 2 and enter. Actually, I find white to be a better drawing color, so I'll move to that. Okay, so that's the front view of our band. I want to carry the same information that I've got so far into the top and the side. Always work your drawing as far as you can equally as you go. So, all the way around. I know my band is going to be 3 millimeters wide for the stones, 1 millimeter each side for the rims. That's 5 millimeters. I know these grids are set 10 millimeters apart. I know that because I set them in options, grid. This is how your grid should be set every time you work, at home or in class. 100, 10, 20, 10. It's really important that the snap spacing and the grid count, the grid lines, minor grid lines, and snap spacing match. Okay? So if this is 100, that's 100. This is 4, that's 4. 10, 10. Okay. So I know these are 10 millimeters apart. My band is half of that. So if I put my center line here, I've got plenty of room. So I'm going to do that. Bring a construction line over. To catch this grid intersection, I'm going to turn on grid snap. I'm going to do the same thing for my top view since it's a static width band. I can also turn grid snap on and off with S enter, which is how I'll be doing it from now on in our tutorials. Come up, and there we go. I need my miter line, another straight line. And if you're not using grid snap, always make sure you turn it off. It's the most powerful constraint in Rhino, and it really gets in your way. I'm going to use intersect snap, where the center line of the top view and the side view intersect. I want this to go both sides. I want it to be constrained to 45 degrees. So I will type in back arrow 45, and that will give me only 45 degree increments. Click. Good. I'm going to bring in the construction lines from the front view to the top view. Offset, through point, catch the outside edge, catch the outside edge. Okay. Also want to catch the band thickness here. Intersect, intersect for the ring bore. Carry the same information over to the side. through point, intersect, intersect, through point. And since I know these are all symmetrical, I can hit B enter for both sides option. And if I grab the top one, I get the bottom one at the same time. Now I'm going to bring the information that I don't have. This is all I can get from the front view right now. So now I'm going to do what I can't get in the front view in the remaining views, as far as I can. I know my stones are 3 millimeters in diameter. That means 1.5 millimeters off either side of the construction line. So I'll type in 1.5. Enter. I know that my rims are 1 millimeter. So I will offset from the outside of the stone. Oops. Offset from the outside of the stone 1 millimeter. Repeat that here. I'm going to use these construction lines to bring the information around across the miter line into the side view. Offset, through point, in the same order. Stone width, through point, rim width, through point, rim width. Okay, that's all the information that I can do so far. I will go ahead now and draw the top and side views as far as I can of my band using a polycurve and intersect object snap. Okay. Rhino makes it hard to see things. It arbitrarily buries layer information. I'm going to clean this drawing up now. I'm going to right click on the green layer, select objects. I'm going to deselect by holding down the control key and clicking anything I want to keep clearly visible. And I want to keep all my center lines clearly visible. The rest I'm going to move on to my storage curves layer with control D. That's how I got that change layer. You'll see it again if I type control D, it automatically goes change layer. It's our shortcut off of the template that I have you guys download onto your systems every week. Okay, so I'm going to lock this layer, and you can see that now the white lines will stand clearly above those, and our green lines are still clear. Starting to look like a tartan, so I'm going to get rid of the grid lines. I don't need the grid anymore. I can get rid of grid, as can you, by hitting F7. That hides the grid. Okay, we're good to move forward. The next thing I need to do is establish this tray for my stones. Stones are going to be channel set, so they're going to be set down into the shank, into the band, deep enough that the crown of the stone barely rises above the outside of the ring. The proportions for a stone, round brilliant, are right here. Pavilion is 43% of the girdle diameter. That's the lower part of the stone. Crown is 16.2% of the girdle diameter. That's the height above the girdle. Table facet equals 53% of the girdle diameter. In Rhino or on a calculator, all of these are typed out in decimal points. 43.1% is 0.431, 0.162, 0.53, etc. Okay? So, I want it to be just less than the total crown height, that tray, submerged into the band. Crown height is 16.2. An easy number for me to use mathematically is 15%, and that's slightly less, so that works great. I'll do 15%. 15% of a 3 millimeter stone is 10% is 0.3 millimeters. 5% is therefore 0.15, so 15 is the two combined, 0.45. Offset the outer rim of my ring, .45. Okay. This is a hidden line in the front. You wouldn't see it because it's in the middle of the ring, but it's important because it's how we will lay out our stones. I'm going to bring that information around the drawing. I'll bring it to the top view first. Through point, offset, construction line color, and where this intersects my construction line to the side width, at the full, so I can get the, because all I can see from the front, I can't see this part of it. Well, it's just right there. It's nothing. Remember, you can only carry corners and edges from view to view. Here I have an edge. As this goes around, you can't see the back of it from the top, so that's an edge, and that gives me my width. Same thing carrying the information over to the side. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and move those out of the way a little bit so that they are not as visible. I'm going to do a crossing selection. In Rhino, you do a crossing selection by dragging from lower right, upper left. Anything touched by that window will be selected. I don't want to change the color of my center line, but these I do. Control D, change layer, storage curves. Same thing here. Crossing selection, lower right, upper left. Don't want to change the layer of my center lines. Those two I do. Okay. Notice how when I grab this, it can't grab anything on the dark green layer. That's because it's locked. And that locking of the layer also makes it always fall to the back, so our drawing is clearly visible above. I'm going to finish drawing my top and side view so far as I possibly can. I'm going to draw my rim, my bottom rim, and where my stone tray falls away. Rim, rim, and where my stone tray falls away. I'm going to clean it up a little, do some erasing with trim. Select my rims, trim out that center section because this is recessed down in. Same thing to the side. Okay, and now we have our top, front, and side drawn as far as we can without stones. Remember, this line is a hidden line, so you wouldn't actually see it. So with no stones in, this is what our drawing would look like. Going to draw our stones, starting with our center stone. We know it's 3 millimeters, circle center radius. I could just center of the circle, it goes right here at the intersection of my two guidelines. I could just type in 3 millimeters because I know it's 3 millimeters, but we're going to try and stay true to our drafting methods and go ahead and grab that intersection where the two rims intersect the center line. That is 3 millimeters. We know it is because we drew it carefully. I want to do the table of the stone. It's 53% of the girdle diameter. Okay. I'm not going to draw all the facets, obviously. I'm just going to draw a circle to indicate where the crown would be, where the table would be. So, I'm going to do a scale. Origin point. Okay. The origin point is really important in a scale. If I do this intersection, I'll get what I want. If I do this intersection, I won't, because it's going to scale around that point. Okay? If I do it here, it'll scale around that point. Okay? So the origin point is one of the most important things in a scale command. Origin point is here. I want to make sure that copy equals yes, which mine does. The default is equals no. So if yours says equal no, make it say equal yes by toggling it, by clicking on it. You can also do that by typing C enter. Okay. I want 0.53. Enter. And enter when done. That's the top view of my stone. Now I need to draw front view, so I'm going to use my construction lines. Through point. Grab the widest point of that stone. It's an edge once again from the front. Okay. And the same thing for the edges of the table. And it's symmetrical, so I can just use both sides option. I'm going to draw my girdle. From the front view. Just using that guideline, which indicates the farthest reach to this side and that guideline, which indicates the farthest reach to the other. I need to move this line up, or not move it, but create a reference line for my table height so I can draw my table. So I can indicate the crown height overall. Crown height, if you'll remember, 16.2% or 0.162. I don't know offhand what that is, so I'll pull up Rhino's calculator. It's off your tools menu. I will type in 3 times point. Now remember, on a calculator, 3 is right here. A times is a little star. You should all know that by now, but in case you don't. 0.162. Enter. It's 0.486. Okay? 0.49 is good enough. So, offset this. Construction line. 0.486. Okay? And that gives me what I actually wanted. I wanted the table of the stone to just break above the rim of the stone. So I will go ahead and draw. I can actually draw the whole crown. I can just draw the table, but why not use a polyline and draw a line from the edge of my girdle, top of my table, the other left side of my table, back to my girdle line, and hit enter when done. So now I have the crown of my stone. I need to draw the pavilion of my stone. Actually, we're only going to draw the pavilion because it's nice to do, and we can. For our drawing purposes, we really don't need it because the pavilion won't be visible in any drawing. Okay? It won't be visible in the top view. It won't be visible in the side view. It's not visible in the front view. None of this is visible in the front view below this rim. But we'll draw it as an exercise. Okay? So, pavilion depth is 0.431. I'll just go to 2 decimal points this time. So 3 times 0.43 is 1.29. Offset a construction line straight down, 0.29 millimeters. Typed it in here. Click. And now I can draw the pavilion of my stone. Left side of the girdle, cubit depth. Right side, oh, missed. If you click the wrong place when you're doing a polyline, just hit U, enter, until you get back to where you want to be. Click. Enter when done. Okay. So I have my stone. I'm going to group these together, so select them all by holding the Shift key. Click, Shift, click, click. Control G for group. You can also find it here on the menu, Edit, Groups, Group. You can see that's Rhino's default shortcut. So I have my stone. Okay, I'm going to clean up my drawing a little bit again. Crossing selection. Take out my center line because I don't want it to go on the storage layer. Put the rest of them over there. Same with these two. Okay. Now, the challenge I have is I'm going to make these stones go around with a 0.2 millimeter spacing, between 0.15 and 0.2 millimeter spacing right here at the girdle line. The girdle line doesn't come in line with our tray, so we need to have a second hidden line. Actually, this is a hidden line because it actually exists in the drawing. It is actually this surface. Okay? So that's actually a hidden line. And if you were going to leave that in your drawing, it would be a dashed line. Okay? And that should be... There's an option within Rhino. I never actually take advantage of it. Okay. Dashed. Hidden. Okay. So you could actually make that. There are places in Rhino where you can set that. This ended in a strange way. It's not a very nice hidden line, okay? But that's where you could put it. We'll just leave it to solid. That is actually a hidden line. Remember, a hidden line actually is existing geometry. It's just existing geometry that you can't see from that view. Because in this case, there's that 1 millimeter thick wall of metal between us and that tray. Okay? I'm going to draw a construction line, a reference line. Okay? To catch the edge of that girdle, because that's the edge that we need to actually space our stones. And the next command we're going to use needs that curve to work. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our tray, our hidden line for now, so we don't get them confused. I want to make this stone go all the way around with an even spacing of hopefully 0.2 millimeters, or very close there too. The command we can do that with in Rhino is called a line along a curve. It's transform. It's a transform off the transform menu. Okay, array. Let's see, hang on. Hang on one second. I apologize. I use several different versions of Rhino, so the names have changed. I do not want flow along curve. It's array along a curve is what it is right here. Select what we want to array. Our stone. Enter when done. Select the path curve. This is our reference line at the girdle level. Okay. This dialog box gives you several important options. You can choose the number of items, and Rhino will do that many items around the curve. We don't know how many, so we don't have that information. But we know what we want the distance to be. We want the distance to be the size of the stone plus the spacing. So we want it to be 3.4. Okay? Once we do that, Rhino gives us a number of items up here. It's ghosted, but if you have the stones 3.4 millimeters apart, they'll be roughly 19. Now if we hit enter right now, you'll actually have some strange spacing at the end, because Rhino's making this the boss and making this secondary. We really need the number of items to be the primary concern. We just did this as a step along the way so that Rhino could give us a ballpark as to how many items that actually is. So now I'm going to go back and check number of items. You'll see this becomes the boldface now, and this becomes the distance. You'll see if I type in the exact same number again, it isn't actually, oh, hang on a minute, I did something wrong. Sorry. I don't want 3.4. I want 3.2. Thank you. Okay. So if I go back here, and I know you were all thinking I was crazy for a minute there, our spacing is 0.2 millimeters, our stone is 3.2. It's early, guys. Type in the number of items. If I type in the exact same number again, you'll see that it really wasn't 3.2. It was 3.192274. Okay? That's close enough for us. If I type in 21, there'll be exactly 3.04. That's way too close together. If I type in 18, that'd be 3.54. That's way too far apart. 19, 3.36. Okay? That's 0.26 millimeters. 0.36 millimeters, too much. We want I want 2.2 millimeters. That is really close. That is perfect. Gonna hit OK. And Rhino gives us our stones. Alright? Okay. For the next part, I'm going to be laying out stones all the way around the ring, as we did with our traditional media. Okay? I am going to do the top view first, then I'll do the side view. First thing I need to know is where the next stone begins. Right? So, I'm going to offset a construction line to the edge of the stone. Going to offset another construction line to the other edge of the stone. Okay? This gives me the width of my stone in the top view. In order to draw an ellipse in Rhino, we need a center, either a center of the ellipse or a center for the diameter. We have neither one here. We need to create it. I'm going to make circle diameter. Draw a circle here and a circle here. These are just construction lines. And then we're going to use them to do an ellipse diameter. Going to add center to our list of snaps, active snaps. Remember, to get center snap, you have to touch the edge of the circle or arc. If you go to the middle, it can't find it. Rhino has to calculate that mathematically. Center, center, intersection at the width of the stone, according to our construction lines. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and erase these right away because it's just going to get cumbersome to look at. Now I want to draw the table. Offset a construction line to the corner of the table, through point to the other corner of the table. I need to zoom in because this is pretty close in. I could grab that intersection on accident. I don't want that intersection. I want that intersection. Going to repeat the same exercise that we did before. Except for I need the width of my tables across my top view. So to get that, construction line, through point, may as well do both sides, it's symmetrical, and click. Now there's something important to see there. As I did that, there Rhino can grab several different things, okay? I'm through pointing this, and it's like, oh, there's an intersection, there's a center, there's a center, You have to make sure that you bring your marker close, and that little flag, it says INT in this case, is lit up. It tells you which object snap it's using. Okay? So now we know how wide our tables are. Going around the stone, going around the ring, I'm sorry. So, I'm going to draw a circle diameter. Just like we did for the girdle of the stone, and we'll use the same method to draw center snap, intersect. And we have a very nicely drawn second stone. And we're going to keep going. Through point, edge of the girdle, edge of the girdle. Just hitting enter to repeat the command. I'm not going to do the table yet because that might still be confusing. If I were drafting for me, I would do this all at once because it's faster, but I will go more deliberately. Draw our reference construction circles. Okay, remember that's for the full width, not for the width of the table. We're not drawing the table, we're drawing the girdle. Ellipse diameter, center, center, intersection for the width. Throw those two away. Offset a... Now what you saw me do there, I can right click in my command line and it'll give me my list of recent commands. Okay? Through point, construction line layer, to the corner of the table. Going to zoom in, make sure I get it. Corner of the table. My diameter circles, and this time it's at the width of the table line, not at the rim line for the girdle. And ellipse diameter, center snap to catch that middle of the table, and intersect to get the width. Delete those. Okay. I'm going to draw the rest of the stones like I would do them if I were doing it myself. So, through point, girdle width, table. I'm going to zoom in because these will be very close together. Table. Come up here. Circle diameter. At the rim line. At the rim line. At the table line. At the table line. Ellipse diameter. Center to grab that rim line. Intersect to grab the width. Repeat the command. Center to grab the table line. Intersect to grab the width. Throw it away. Offset, through point, construction line at the edge of the girdle, at the edge of the girdle. It gets tricky here because there's lots of circles to grab center snap, so my mouse is, my cursor is getting a little jerky. And for my table. Now I'm going to pause here and notice something for myself. Got a lot of lines going on, okay? These two are my girdle. These two are my table, and they jut out. My table officially now juts out. Top of my table is now past my girdle. That's important to make sense of when I come up here. Okay? So, circle diameter at the rim line. At the table line. Draw my ellipses. Ellipse diameter, center at the rim, girdle width, at the table, table width. Okay. We will finish drawing that stone better in a minute. Okay. My last stone. Okay. This line, the girdle line, is actually at the tray level. So we already have it. That tray line is the girdle. So all I need is the crown height, the table. So grab one of my construction lines, vertical construction lines, offset, and grab the table. Then I can draw this stone with a polyline. Girdle, table width, girdle. Enter. I should have drawn that in white. Okay. So now that I've got those, I want to clean this drawing up. I'm going to lock my white layer so I can't select it accidentally. Drawing a crossing window through all of these construction lines. Actually, I want all of them. So, okay. Actually, no. I would like to keep these three. And, of course, my original center line here. The rest, I will put on the storage curves layer. Okay? So, you're in Rhino, so you don't need to draw the left side of this. Okay? You can mirror it. F2 or your transform mirror button. 0 as your center of your axis. And then just hold straight up with the shift key to mirror across horizontally. Okay? And that is the top view of your ring. It's completed. Now, I would love you to go through the exercise of drawing this over here. If you feel up to it, please do so. Oh, we're not quite done yet. Before I mirror, there's a stone I hadn't finished drawing. I'm going to turn off that layer so we can see a little easier. I'll actually turn off all the construction layers. Okay. I need to draw the ramp of this stone, of this crown. That stone's crown. So, I'm going to do a straight line. Now I could do this by eye using near snap. You know, come up with something pretty good. But Rhino actually has a curve tool that allows you to do that much more precisely. Line, same command, but now I'm going to hit tangent and 2 curves. Rhino's going to ask the first curve near where I think the tangent point's going to be. Second curve near where I think the tangent point's going to be. And Rhino calculates that for us. Tangent, 2 curves, automatically. Okay. So now I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to trim out the girdle of that stone and the girdle of this stone. Finish trimming out the girdle with those lines. There. Okay. I don't want to mirror the center stone because that would be a little redundant. I'd end up with a copy of it. Mirror it over. Shift key straight up. I brought my grid back. Okay. I would love for you to go through the work of plotting these out to the side just so that you have the practice of doing it. Okay. But you do know that in a CAD program, we can just select those stones. We don't want the rims. We already have the rims. And we can do a rotation. Center of rotation, just like in the scale, it's very important. We want this to rotate around the center of this ring. This only is going to work because these are equidistant from the center. If I drew a circle, if you're ever wondering what a rotate's going to do, you can draw a circle, charting its path. And you can see how this circle passes through here to here. So, because these are equidistant from the center, it'll work. Otherwise, it would not. Okay? So, select my stones, take out the rims, rotate. Center of rotation is going to be the intersection right here at the middle. And now I want to take what I could type in 90 degrees, okay, or in this case I believe it's minus 90. But instead I'm going to do it by eye by holding down my shift key. Oh, by the way, my object snaps are driving me crazy, so I can disable those. Okay. Hold shift key straight up in this direction and click. By the way, I want it to say copy yes. And then when I come around to here, hold shift key down again. And hit enter. When done. Okay? So, go ahead and put these on the storage layer. That would be your finished drawing. Now, if I was going to do this for a client, first off, this is just a construction line. It's not a hidden line. I would move that over here. and they wanted to see how the stones are laid out, I might bring this line back, okay? But before I did, I would take all of these and I would split them. Cutting object to split would be the rim of the ring. Remember, the difference between split and trim is you don't throw anything away when you split. When you trim, you end up throwing something out, removing or erasing something. Split, they both stay there, you just divide them. So now the bottom halves of these stones, oh, hang on. Oh, I know why. I didn't make a mistake, but it's not going to show as two separate pieces because it's grouped. If I ungroup, okay, now these sections are separate from the rest. Okay, it's a little cumbersome because now I have to go around and select all of these, and there's not really a fast selection method for doing this. I could change everything in this area that wasn't these and put it on a layer and lock it, but by the time I do that, it's the same animal. I'm still doing a lot of clicking. I could delete all but one and array that one along a curve again, but by the time, in order to delete them all, I have to select them all. So I'm in the same boat. This is one of those things where I've got to take the extra 120 seconds or so and just make my selection. Change layer, Control D, put those on the same layer as, oh, look, I missed two, as my tray line. Okay, bring those all back. Okay, and the client would now know that that's hidden information. That's pretty bold for hidden information. Okay, so I would pick a softer blue, and on small drawings like we do in jewelry, we don't use dotted lines. They are too tiny to see. We use pale blue, what they call a non-photo blue. Okay, and that barely shows up in this drawing, but it's about right for the finish. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off all the construction lines. I'm going to take my drawing and I'm going to put it on a black layer. Okay, and I'm going to draw a frame. Bring my grid back. Draw a frame around this in another color. Doesn't matter what color. Or it can be black, but I usually draw it in a separate color. I'm going to use rectangle, circle, corner. Center I'll make in the middle. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to drag out a circle that I know is big enough to fit those, and then I'm going to move it until they're roughly centered. It's not critical that they're centered. Okay, I will save this. Actually, I prefer to put these all in the same place now. So drafting tutorial. Hit enter too fast. It's not what I wanted, Rhino. Eternity band. That's what I wanted. Okay. So I've got that. I'm going to grab these items in my drawing. I can't have that locked. Unlock it. Otherwise it won't select. Everything I want needs to be unlocked and selectable. File, export selected, I want to pick an Adobe Illustrator format, AI. You make sure you retype the name. And I had such luck last time. Fortunately, it's here. I don't want 3DM, obviously. I want .ai, Eternity Band. Save. It's important that this Rhino's default is a snapshot. We don't want a snapshot. We want to preserve model scale. And we don't want CMYK, that's for max. We want RGB. Hit OK. We can now go into Adobe Illustrator. And we can find that file and open it. It's right there. Drag a window around it from left to right. It's a window selection. Upper left to lower right. Under the object menu, you can group. Notice it has the same shortcut as Rhino does. They all do. Control G is group. Grab anywhere in here. Pull it up into the middle, and if you zoom in, it's a control space bar. Click just like in Rhino. You'll notice how fat these lines are. Rhino's default line is 1 point thick. That is way too thick for what we do. If you're going to draw some more on something in Painter, I make it 0.33. If this is going to be your finished lines, which in this case, as small as this is, it would be, I'd make it 0.22. So under stroke weight, select in there and type in 0.22. Enter. Oh, hang on. You got to select the things first. So I had deselected it. So select. There you go. Okay, that's much more reasonable, right? File, export, and it gives you a full range of things you can do it in. Okay, you have a bitmap here, BMP, JPEG, PSD. You can pick any of these. I usually use PSD out of habit because Photoshop and Illustrator speak nicely together, even though I won't be using Photoshop for this. But we can use a JPEG. Make sure it says RGB. Make sure it's the largest file possible. Make sure that the sampling is art optimized. That's the best. So the best anti-aliasing, the highest quality, RGB. Hit OK. And now if I go into Painter, create a canvas, open that file, select it, Control A, and then I can just Control X. That cuts it out. Control W throws this away. I don't want to save the changes. Control V, paste it into my drawing here. Okay? I want to drag a selection around what I want to keep. And I want to invert selection. That's Control I. And then once again Control X to clear, to cut that away. Okay? That leaves me with my drawing. Now, the drawing is going to be kind of pixelated. It comes in, even at their best, Illustrator doesn't do it. It's a vector package. And these are tiny little lines. We're asking a lot. Oh, by the way, for some reason, we didn't get the ends trimmed out here. Okay, that's a problem, but it was all right. We trimmed it on one side and mirrored it over, but the tray line was still there, and it didn't get trimmed out. Fine. I'm going to drop this to canvas. It's an important. We're going to mix these, we're going to stir the pixels to make this softer. The process for this is you have to first drop the line work onto the canvas. Select the line work. Edit, transform, rotate. Type in any two numbers that are the same number together. I always do 11. Hit OK. Transform, commit transform. Okay? Edit, transform, rotate again. Type in the negative same number. Hit OK. Edit, transform, commit transform. And then deselect, Control D. Okay? You'll see it softens it. There's still some pixelation because this is a tiny ring. These are tiny, tiny lines. Printed out, you wouldn't catch any of that. But that makes it softer and it looks more like a painter drawn line. Obviously, where I have my little boo-boo there, I'll just get a small brush. Come in here. And you can see now I can draw right on top of rhino work. Okay. If I wanted to paint now, I would, by the way, notice how these light blue lines read now. That's drafting code for these are hidden lines. And it would show the client exactly how the layout's working, at what level the stones are sitting in here, etc. I'm going to select my drawing, lift it off the canvas, and make it gel, just like we normally would. Now if I want to paint anything, it's an easy matter to do. Set my painting parameters and good to go. Setting it up now for facets or more detailed line work. Stones this size, you're not going to do a whole lot. This is much more than I should be doing. Printed out, much of what I'm drawing may not even come out. But as a demonstration of working between Rhino and Painter, it works. A faceting layer on top. good enough. Okay. So yes, I can bring that in and paint on it, and we'll be good. Okay, that's it. Long tutorial. Thanks for watching.